So let's move on to one of the basic elements in the web. This is Rachel's
The
turn.
basics.
Yes.
She's getting the hardest one. That's not
Scott,
fair.
I do have one question.
Sure.
In other like HTML classes I've had or whatever, like they always say you have to type have the HTML tag and then the body tag, and I see we haven't used those at all, but the site is still rendering. Are those not needed anymore, or just not on something
They're
so
technically
simple?
not required. The browser can render them. To do it properly, you are supposed to start with those tags, and I'll get to those of how to make a fully formed page. That's all right. It's a good question. I'm trying to work from the basics up to the bigger ideas,
Okay.
but yeah, ultimately there's a proper way to write HTML, and then there's just a way that ultimately works in the browser. And to do something on your own, like a personal website, you can write any way you want to. When you're doing a professional website like Miles Media, you want to follow the standards and do it correctly. So let's talk about links and how to create links, which is one of the most basic elements of the web. If you would, Rachel, just get rid of the spam on this, and instead it is an A tag, just the letter A. Same thing over here. And it creates an anchor. When HTML began, links were called anchors because it was a point in the text that's connect to another point. Very soon people started calling them links and never looked back, but the tag is still called A for some reason. And within this, the hypertext reference that you're going to link to, the URL that you're going to link to, is an attribute that modifies the A tag, so it's just like span style. So in this case, it's A space href equals.
Sorry.
It's all right. And then within quotation marks would be the site that you're going to link to. So you're going to link to google.com.
Do you have to have the W's anymore? Can
No.
I go just google.com and it'll go? Okay.
Oh, you don't need even the HTTP.
Get to that in a second.
Sorry.
That's all right.
So it's not going to go now because I didn't put
target
it on there?
underscore blank.
When you
I
go ahead
know.
and put in there you go, last quotation mark.
So now,
So now you've made a link.
Okay.
This is the basic formatting for the link. There's only one problem when you link to just a word like that, like
Yeah.
google.com, it's going to assume you're linking to a file within the same folder.
okay.
So you have to have a file called google.com here in the folder to link to that. So instead what you need in the front of this is the http:// There you go. And that HTTP, you've probably seen this in front of all web pages, that is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. That is the means by which you go out and get web pages and bring them back. It is the basic protocol of the World Wide Web. You probably have heard of FTP, which is very similar, File Transfer Protocol. And if you see an S on the end, that's a secure connection. So now we have a link to google.com. And that's the basics of the web. Congratulations. You can link, again, you can link a word, you can link a paragraph, you can link a sentence, a letter, you can link an image, and we'll get in a minute how to put an image in the page, but it's all done the exact same way by putting an A tag and then a /A tag where you want it to end.
Am I jumping ahead, or is this going to be the same manner in which we move users throughout pages on the site as well? Is this simply going to another website, or can we have Fox go to the story, tag to that story?
If you were to create a page on this called fox.html, then the href here would point to fox.html,
Okay.
and that's what you would click on to go to that page, and so on.
Okay.
Now I've saved this page as index.html, which is an awfully weird name for a file. That's what the web server treats as the root file of that folder. And so when you're going to google.com, just with a slash, and you're not specifying a file after that, it's just going to serve up index.html or whatever is in the root folder of that that site. You can call it anything you want to after that. All the subpages can be named.
You always have to have that first page in index has to be.
And it can be either index.html or index.php, depending on which language you're writing in. One more trick with links that is very helpful is the target attribute, which is the second attribute in addition to href. So
are we going to put it after this one?
it's going to be after the quotation marks. There you go, put another space. And then target equals quotation marks. And the example that I recommend is underscore blank, blank, quotation marks. Any guesses what this does?
Yeah,
Yeah,
opening
so
the
window.
Opens the window.
You guys are all set.
Now, how come
Or
you don't have to
tab.
put
Yeah,
a semicolon in between like you did on the span tab? In between the Google and the Target.
Because in this case, span, when you're applying the style, you're applying multiple things that are the style. But in this case, href is one thing, and target is a different thing. They're two completely different things. It doesn't matter what the order is. You can swap them out, but they modify two different things, and so they're thought of that way.
Oh, okay.
You can apply multiple styles if you want to. You can have span, style, color red, style, font family Arial, style, font size 12. It's just easier to group them together under one single style attribute.
Oh, so style is like Target. It's not like the whole tag's not called span style. Like you could think of style as like a separate thing, like Target is.
Right.
Okay.
These are attributes. This is an attribute that modifies the tag. And you can put as many of them on there as you want to in any order you want to. If you put multiple ones that conflict, I think it will go with whatever the last one is, but why would you do that? You're only going to put on one that defines it. There's different kinds of targets, but blank is the only one that really gets commonly used anymore. Back in the 90s, frames were pretty popular. I don't know if anybody of you remember that, but you could break a web page into several different frames, and if you had to link from one frame to a different frame, or from one frame to the entire screen, then you'd start using target. People don't really use frames anymore, and so the only one that has really survived is _blank, which forces the browser to create a new window. Sometimes you see target equals new, which works well the first time because you're creating a new window called new, but then if you link to something else, target equals new, it's going to overwrite that first window because that window is already called new. _blank is something that the browser recognizes as always create a new one every single time.
So for you guys, the editors, when you're working on links, best practices is target equals blank because you're going to not lose the site that the user is on in the background. It's going to make the window not be as big as that so that they can just close it and keep exploring on the website. Chicago doesn't do that, and so when they have an external link, they're losing that person right now. So, because then the person's going to just explore that website that they're on. So this is what we recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. There is one other kind of link that is not linking to an external website and it's not linking to another page. It's actually linking to a part of the current page. Like you'll have a table of contents where you'll have some links. Often Wikipedia articles have these where you'll click on the link and it suddenly jumps you down to the bottom of the page. This is called a name anchor. So in this case, link to £.
Where are you?
It's up at the
Yeah.
Number 3.
£, jump. And in this case, look, we're gonna have to put in a second line a little further down the page. And let's here. I didn't think ahead about this step because I haven't got into line breaks yet. But there you go. And in this case, instead of href and target, you're going to have a name anchor. So a name equals jump. And at this point, right, might as well jump. You're going to want the quotation marks around it.
I was about to say the next line.
Break out song.
Go ahead and jump. Yeah, exactly.
So this one is a little bit easier to think of as an anchor. In this case, you're actually putting a marker on the page, calling the anchor jump. And at this point, anything can link to it by linking to #jump. And in this case, we're linking to we're not specifying a file name, we're just saying link to #jump, so it's assuming it's the same file. If you want to link to a jump within a separate file, like you have fox.html, you would link to href equals fox.html #jump. It works even to link to an external website, you can do the same thing.